Today we travel to Sweden by making this cinnamon roll, the best one that you've ever tried in your life. Moist, succulent. Here are some of the ingredients that you'll need for this recipe. I combined a list of what you'll need here. I'm adding 1 tablespoon to 1/4 cup of warm milk in order to make the yeast rise separately. I'm going to go ahead and whisk and mix in the sugar so it's combined. And now I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of yeast, or 1 packet of yeast, and go ahead and mix that up. The milk is about 105 degrees, so it's a little bit warm. It's not warm enough to make it die off. This is 10 minutes later. It has risen. Now I'm going to go ahead and add all of the wet ingredients in order to get it all combined, and then followed by the dry ingredients. So here's just a few of what you see as the wet ingredients. I'm adding 1/4 cup of warm melted butter, 1 egg, and then I'm going to go ahead and add 1/4 cup of milk, so that's a total of 1/2 cup after I've added it to the other milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then 1/2 cup of the sour cream. So I'm going to go ahead and combine all of these ingredients together, and then now I'm adding 1/4 cup of granulated white sugar, and I'm going to add 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and then I'm going to combine that. And then I am going to add a pinch of nutmeg, so I'm just grating the nutmeg into it, and that's going to give it a nice nutty flavor. And then I'm going to go ahead and add 3 cups of flour here. This is all-purpose flour. And I end up adding at the end an additional 1/2 cup, but that's separately. So first I'm adding the 3 cups to combine, and remember, I'm not using a mixer, although you can use a hand mixer or a KitchenAid mixer. I add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and a little bit of salt. The amount of salt that I add is just about a 1/2 teaspoon. I'm going to go ahead and first whisk this all together and combine, and then slowly, it takes me about a total of 10 minutes of mixing this, and then I get into where I'm making it into the dough. Now I'm adding the additional 1/2 cup of flour, and I just keep whisking away and mixing. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to flour the countertop and move it over to the countertop that's floured, and just continue to mix this. I mix this for a total of 10 minutes until I get a nice pliable dough. It's really nice and moist because of all of the milk and butter and sour cream that I've added. And so it's going to be very pliable. And now I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of vegetable oil to this in order to let the dough rise and it won't be sticky. So I'm going to put the dough in the oven that I've preheated. It's just very warm. You don't want it too hot. And I'm going to add a warm, moist towel in order to keep it moist, and stick that in the oven for about an hour and let it rise. So at this point I'm just going to let it hang out, and this is an hour later. It's risen, as you can see, to at least double the size. I'm going to put it out on the countertop again and go ahead and flour the top so it doesn't stick. And this is where I'm going to make it out into the shape that we want to make it into, and we're going to go ahead and make it into a rectangular shape. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of flour so it doesn't stick, and you just keep rolling it out. Just keep rolling it out until you come to a nice rectangular shape. And this only takes me about 4 minutes, and once you get it nice and even as you can, just go ahead and pull out the sides too, in order to get it a nice rectangular, shape, as square as you can on the sides and the corners. And also I want you to get a little bit of room temperature butter, so if you could either melt it so it's not fully melted or put it out at a room temperature. This is going to be 5 tablespoons of butter that I'm just going to go ahead and spread out. And at this point I'm going to mix the what I'm going to add to the center, which is 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. And I'm going to go ahead and whisk that together, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that all over the cinnamon roll here, and I'm going to start rolling. And you want to make the seam as tight as you can while you're rolling it up. And you just kind of go slowly, and eventually this took me about 3 minutes to roll up. So you go ahead and just try to make it as even as you can as you roll it out, and you're kind of like the workman of this, so you're the craftsman to how even or how good it's going to look. And at the end I pull in the seams, and I'm going to go ahead and use floss in order to cut it. And I try to get it as evenly cut by making preset type of markings, although they weren't so even, but you can kind of eyeball it and see where you want to go ahead and put the floss underneath and pull it back in order to get a nice straight cut that is not smooshed together. And I buttered the pan in order for it to not stick, so it's nice and buttered. And then I'm leaving a little bit of space in between each of these in order for them to rise again. I'm going to go ahead and let them rise in a warm space for about an hour. And right now I'm going to have 6 of these rolls. 2 are left over. I'm going to have to make those separately, but the ends I just make those separately. And at this point I'm going to put it into the oven just to let it rise for an hour. Here it is 1 hour later. It's risen to about, a little bit more than maybe double its size. And now I'm putting it in a 350-degree oven for about 28 minutes, and this is the finished product. As you can see, they came out nice and brown and look really, really great. And at this point I'm going to make the glaze. I use 1 cup of powdered sugar and 1/4 cup of melted butter. And I'm going to go ahead and put the butter in, and then I'm going to go ahead and add about a teaspoon of vanilla extract, or vanilla. And then I finish this by adding actually I had 2 tablespoons of the milk. I first add 1 to see if it's enough, and then I finish by adding another 1. And I'm going to go ahead and whisk this until it's nice and smooth consistency. And if you're not getting a smooth consistency, just keep mixing. If it's too dry, you might just want to add a little bit more milk, but this was just perfect. At the end, I mixed this for about 3 minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and spread it all over some of the cinnamon rolls. Now the cinnamon rolls have been cooled down for about 45 minutes, and you want to let them cool down so this doesn't melt all over it. So go ahead and just let them cool off before you put it on. And these are going to be about the best cinnamon rolls you've ever had.